When you first look at ChatGPT, you can instantly see that the interface is pretty simple and intuitive. But I think it's worth noting because it's similar to the way that Google revolutionized the user interface for searching for websites by simply introducing the search bar. The same search bar exists here, and it's based on the familiar enter your values and hit send process. Now, let's look at the sidebar over to the left. You'll see at the very top of that sidebar is a button called New Chat, and this is where you initiate new conversations. And below that button is a history of all the conversations associated with the account that you've logged in with. This feature was introduced later in the ChatGPT rollout, but is a very important part of the user experience today. Now, you'll notice that if you click on any one of these conversations, not only will it load the conversation, but you can also delete them by hitting the trash can. When you start working with ChatGPT, you'll notice this interesting feature where it uses the model to stream a name of your conversation after you get your first response. Now, if you don't like that name, you can just hit this edit button here and enter in your own name. I'd be extremely careful about hitting clear conversations, because I say there's really no upside to clearing conversations, especially all of them. You don't want to accidentally select this and then lose all of the context that you've established within these conversations, especially as you're starting to get to know ChatGPT. Now, the rest of the toolbar is pretty self-explanatory. We've got the dark mode, the ability to access OpenAI and Discord, and even the FAQs section. Most of the user experience is going to happen in the center here, where your requests and responses are displayed. You'll see that I have a chat that I've worked on previously. Now, there's some subtle pieces here that are worth mentioning. For example, you'll notice that next to any request or the question that you asked, if you hover over it, you'll see this icon. When you click on it, it'll reveal what is quite a helpful tool, because what it does is allows you to edit your original request. This is kind of a big deal. So let's do a quick edit here. And when I hit save and submit, it's going to actually clear any of the responses after it in the thread. So the entire context of your conversation changes, which it should, because this is another example of how prompts contain the previous conversation, because in this example, changing the prompt will cause the rest of the conversation to no longer be relevant. And therefore, it clears the rest of the conversation to start again with the new logic. And in a lot of cases, that's exactly what you're going to want to do, because if you modify the conversation in any way, you're just going to introduce confusing logic to the process. You'll also notice this button down here, which is called Regenerate Response. You can really think of that as the Try Again button. And while your responses are being written, you might notice this Stop Generating button. You can choose that if you can already tell that you're not getting the right response, or if you already know how you might want to go and change the request that you originally put in. Now, once you get your response, after it's done streaming, you'll have the ability to give feedback to OpenAI. That's what these little buttons here that you see on the left-hand side are for. If you hit the thumbs up icon, like for example here, you can say, there might be some other feedback that I think might have been more ideal. Or if you hit thumbs down, this gives you an opportunity to not only enter in what you think the ideal answer should have been, but you can also potentially mark this as either harmful, unsafe, untrue, or just simply not helpful. Both of those options are how ChatGPT gathers reinforcement feedback from users during this research preview process, for the purpose of additional fine-tuning on future models of GPT. So if you really want to be part of the process, you can choose these options as often as you see fit. What's notable is the simplicity of the user interface of ChatGPT. I think it's remarkable, and I also think that we'll see a lot of applications that adopt this type of interface against data in the future.